Cool. Thank you very much, sir. So, welcome to this week's TOC, which is an odd one since I'm kind of introducing it and then stepping back in a way. Though I did take the cursory of preparing an agenda. So we've got a welcome to the new TOC members, reviewing actions from last week, a review of outstanding PRs, and then any other business, of which there should probably be some new TOC business to go in as part of that. Unfortunately, Paketo working group weren't able to join us this week, so that's been delayed by a week or two, and I'll leave that in Eric's hands to continue to arrange that one. So has anyone got anything to add at this point to the agenda?
Under any other business, or maybe as a separate agenda topic, we should probably talk about deciding the TOC chair.
Yes. Okay. I think that's worth putting that as a separate thing. Shall I put that after reviewing outstanding PRs?
Sure. That sounds good.
Okay.
Why not? I think it should go before.
All right.
Given that, like,
all right.
So like has infinite length, basically, outstanding PRs.
Yeah, that's very true and a very good point. So
I'll add a section above that under the actions.
Yeah. So we can kick off with a welcome to the new TOC members. So welcome to Ruben, Andy, and Beyhan's not with us at the moment. He may well join in a moment. That's all cool. So yes, congratulations on your new roles within the TOC.
Thanks.
Okay. So we'll do the quick review from the actions of last week. Eric did his, so that's all good, nice and easy. And Ruben, I did see your update to differentiate between the stem cells had gone in on 308. So that's all good as well. So that brings us to the next major thing of business, which is TOC chair selection. And I'll hand over the floor now.
Oh yeah, one of the things that we need to do as the TOC is to select a TOC chair to represent the TOC on the governing board. And as you can see from the charter document, they are a voting member of the governing board. So Lee has served us capably in this role over the past year. And so thank you very much, Lee, for taking on that responsibility. We certainly appreciate it. So we don't have to decide this immediately, especially because Beyhan isn't here yet. But you know, at least wanted to bring up the topic for discussion, make sure that everyone understands what that is, and then maybe we can have a decision on it next time.
I assume we're looking for candidates, or are we just gonna vote and that person?
I mean, if anyone feels like they want to volunteer, that'd be great. I think we've also valued having the representation from gov.uk on the governing board as someone other than VMware and SAP, and as a nice end user voice as well. So, you know, Andy, if you'd be interested in trying that out, I think we'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that on. I can take a bit of a steer from Lee as to what's needed.
Anyway,
so
how about
we have a candidate, right? So now we just need to vote next week or something on this.
Yeah.
Do we need a unanimous vote? Because I know that Beyhan is on parental leave.
Oh, do you know when he's back?
In a bit. I don't know exactly. Maybe Stephan knows.
No, not. I tried to ping him, but yeah, he's out of office, and I knew that he will leave soon, but I wasn't aware about the exact date. So it looks like sometimes it shifts. Whatever.
I mean, to be fair, these things are notoriously difficult to time.
Yeah.
I don't believe we
like,
need a
I-
unanimous vote. I mean, certainly consensus
Yeah.
is preferred, but if we have a quorum approval, then that should suffice.
Okay, cool. Eric, do you want to take the project board then in that case? And I can note in the meantime.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let me pull that up and I'll go ahead and share my screen for visibility.
Cool.
Yeah, I noticed we have quite a lot of items in the inbox state.
Yeah, I did notice earlier a lot seem to have come in all of a sudden.
Ooh.
We're victims of our own success.
Oh yeah, that's down at the bottom of the inbox column. Yeah. Well, should we start with the to review column? Let's see. Am I correct in remembering that the update Cloud Foundry one is just kind of this placeholder PR that
No,
accumulates
that
changes?
no, that one I just closed. This one is just has a bad title, I think.
Oh, okay. Let me reload this and see if that clears out.
No, there was one at the top, but that one is gone. I closed that just before the meeting. This one, I think,
Okay.
we should review. It's Corifi related. It should just have a different
Oh.
title.
Right. Okay. I think it might have been the generic title from updating the file. So this is adding the Corifi website repo to, at the moment, just as a repo that isn't owned by a working group. So would it make sense for this to be owned by the CF on Gates working group? I know it's got the copy for the Corifi website in it. So it does seem like it kind of straddles the boundary between administrative and working group ownership.
Yep. I think adding it to the workgroup YAML should be sufficient.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the
it
question is whether we
foundation or-
want it.
Is it like
Yeah.
the foundation people? Like, is it Chris and folks doing? Is it like a marketing thing, or is it more like Bosch.io, where it's more like owned by the team?
I mean, I guess that could kind of be up to the team if they want to take an active role in and maintaining that. We just wanted to get something up for the initial launch, but I don't know how often they might want to update content there.
Yeah, I think it's more on the marketing end of things. So maybe it does make more sense as an administrative repo.
As of right now, it's just part of cloudfoundry.org, which we maintain. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In that case, it should be good to merge, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, we had a quorum of approvals quite a while ago. I think we just kept ignoring it because there wasn't a TOC label on it. So we can ignore the Parabolos thing.
Oh yeah, that's, I don't know what.
Time's out.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and merge this thing. Okay, next thing, this has a TOC label. This is adding more garden repos. I think that we still need some approvals on this one. Oh, Andy, we might need to make sure you're added to the Cloud Foundry org before we can assign you as a reviewer, which is, I think, a topic Ruben's going to bring up later. Okay. Well, why don't we at least add Beyhan and Ruben. Okay, so we can double check that one async.
How many reviews do we need? I've just approved it. We have 3 now.
Okay.
Is that enough?
Just a quorum.
Yeah. Oh, I think we should make sure we get approval from Amelia, because this is affecting the app runtime platform working group as well. So
That makes sense.
we should make sure that she's okay with this. All right.
Maybe we can comment on that.
Yeah. Okay. We have, as another TOC tagged thing, cleaning up stem cells. This is one that we had some updates on, right?
Yep, indeed we did.
Oh, I'll try and drop the links in the chat for people.
Yeah, I think the next step here is to call for to vote for a final comment period, right?
Okay. Yeah, if we think everything has been addressed in the questions today and comments. Ruben, do you want to do that then? Call for that
Yeah.
final comment period.
How do I do that?
I think just make a comment on the RFC calling to start the final comment period and requesting approval from the TOC.
Can we not just do that in the call because we have enough?
Yeah,
TOC
sure. I mean, we
members?
can do that.
I think, yeah, I don't know, like both I've seen multiple both ways, right? We have done it like in the call and also like offline.
Yeah, we could do it now and then record the decision.
Yeah,
As a
yeah, that's an equally valid way to do it, as
Yep.
you've got people here, so you can agree it, but then it's documented for anybody who's not here or is in a completely different time zone.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Ruben, do you want to call for the final comment period?
Yes, I'm calling for the final comment period. Can we vote on that? We get a TOC vote. Do we do that like with thumbs up, or is that not how that works?
Yeah.
Lee, you're technically not a TOC member.
Yeah,
I know I'm not. I'm just demonstrating.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can call for a final comment period on RFC on PR 308. I'll approve.
I approve.
Yep.
Okay, sounds like that passes. So Ruben, if you want to.
Yeah, I will record it.
Okay, great. Looks like we also have a couple of staffing changes in the to review column. I know generally those are within the domain of the working group, but depending on the operation, I think we've also wanted some amount of TOC oversight. So maybe we can have folks just take a look at those out of band. I don't know that we need to dig into the details right now. And we've got a couple other ones that are now in the to review column.
Ruben, you got your hand up, man.
Oh, sorry, that was still a vote. Oh wait, lower hand. Sorry, I tried to put up some.
Okay, Ruben, this one's yours.
Yes. Yeah, we recently got some PRs for this, and yeah, we tried to review them, but we found that we actually lack a bit of context on CF deployment. And when digging in a bit more, it feels like Bosch bootloader, although the name suggests it's Bosch related, is actually more of a deployment working group related project because it is really closely tied to CF deployment. So yeah, it feels like it should be in another working group. So yeah, this is the PR to discuss that basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, Stephan. You're going to care or have opinions potentially, and Jan, like on the SAP side, about whether you all are willing to take on this additional responsibility. However, we're looking at it, and it's the vast majority, it seems like, of what it's doing is setting. Well, it's doing two things, right? It's setting up the Bosch director, and then it's populated, and then well, okay, fine. Bosch bootloader is terraforming the infrastructure. Some percentage of which is in service of Cloud Foundry, and some percentage of which is in service of Bosch. Then it's laying out a jump box, which is entirely, I think jump box deployment is part of the Bosch working group. Then it's laying out Bosch deployment, which is part of the Bosch working group. Then it's setting up all of the stuff that's necessary to deploy Cloud Foundry and choosing VM sizes, like and such, the thing I was doing the PR against. And that's very specific to Cloud Foundry. So we're not really sure what to do with this one, but I think it's very hard to own Cloud Foundry deployment, but not own the decisions made by Bosch bootloader in terms of the like type of load balancers that it lays out, or the type of VM sizes that it chooses, or yeah, there's a lot of overlap there, and it's hard to make. There's this whole set of changes you can't make, as I discovered, to Cloud Foundry deployment without knowing about Bosch bootloader.
Yeah, I would take this PR into the next up runtime deployments working group meeting and discuss it there, whether the developers are comfortable with such a decision. From company point of view, we use it. We don't use Bosch bootloader to set up our landscapes, but I know that it's needed for the validation of CF deployment, etc. So we use it in some performance tests. So let's see what comes out from SAP employees. Yeah, we'll look into the project. Pretty surprised, I guess, but if the working group is fine and people like Dave and Carson, etc., say that is the better choice, then let's do it.
Yeah, sounds good to me too to get working group input from the app runtime deployments working group.
Yeah, I've tagged Jochen.
Yeah. Yeah, but if the working group decides that's fine, then sounds good to me. All right, we've got a couple more in the to review column. One to update the build pack team repositories. Looks like this is some cleanup from Greg.
Oh, I threw this one in the to review column. It's just a reminder for how you're supposed to be using teams. Greg and I realized that like there was a legacy team CF build packs, right, in this YAML, and that has all the permissions. And then there's like a new, whatever deployments working group area build packs, which had read access to like a handful of repositories, which of course doesn't make any sense because they're basically all open source repositories, and it didn't include all of them. So what we tried to do is figure out like, we're doing this right? The goal is to take those new teams. I mean, you can't really see it, right, without being able to see more, right? But yeah, this app runtime interfaces working group build pack. This is the one. When the spicy PR goes through, right, we're going to lose everything that isn't one of these kinds of teams. So this is a good kind of change, right? And we should be doing this everywhere we detect it. Am I right about that?
Maybe we discuss it slightly later when we come to through two other PRs which set up the workgroup automation. And then I think one of the topics for the next meeting maybe is how to approach the spicy PR. There are different ways you could do it. And I have an opinion on it, but I would like to discuss it first because it could be disruptive. But normally the disruptive steps, at least they happen eventually, while the smooth things just prolong the pain.
Sure. Okay. Well, so we can forget about how we apply the spicy PR, but this is the right structure, right? You expect to see a bunch of repos under a team that have admin access for those maintainers or write access. I mean, I think Greg decided to use admin, but I don't think that's quite what it says. Doesn't it say write? Anyway, I'm hoping for some guidance just to remind folks.
I expect actually write access for the approvers and admin access for the workgroup leads.
Yeah, totally. So then the comment on then this is wrong. I'll
you could look into the teams that are WG dash up runtime deployment, etc., because there the structure is already set up. Foundational infrastructure as well, but foundational infrastructure is much bigger. So up runtime deployment is a very small, nice set, and you can already look at those teams and see how the access is managed. So that's they are generated automatically. Of course, it can be adapted if that's not perfect yet, no problem. But
about that, I saw that
they are not in Cloud Foundry YAML. They are not in Cloud Foundry YAML.
Oh, that's right. We generate that.
We generate that. That's completely temporary. Eventually, I would hope Teams is completely empty. The Cloud Foundry YAML should be very small, just the repositories and the global configuration, ideally.
Right. We don't capture a snapshot of the generated file now that we've kind of broken it into pieces, do we?
Not yet. We could do it, but it can be regenerated at any time. You can just run the script and then you have it.
Yeah, but from a UX point of view, it's actually not bad to have a snapshot maybe in the repository.
Yeah.
Of the generated file.
Yep.
So okay.
Could be done.
And that's in the org management .py.
Yeah.
That generates all that. Okay. So yeah, we could check that to make sure what roles it's assigning. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to have admin and also for working group leads, and then write for approvers, and then I think we should also have read for reviewers, but I have a proposal for that later.
Is the read necessary if these are all public repos?
Yeah, because you cannot assign people. So apparently, I think that's because of how we set up the org. So we have, like, if you are a member of the org, you have no permissions. So then you don't show up in that like drop down for assigning reviewers. And we have in the roles defined that we want to be like people that are in the org should start to review PRs and not approve that, or not. They shouldn't be able to merge them, I think, right? But they should be able to give an approval in a review.
And okay, yes, definitely. And does having that read permission grant them that?
Yeah, I did some tests, and I think it does that.
Okay.
So if it's really clear what should be done, I mean, that would be easy to add to the automation.
Okay, yeah, but maybe we'll get to this when we talk about that proposal, but that probably deserves a formal RFC to introduce a new reviewer role between contributor and approver.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's more of like we have contributor, which probably already, like, from a roles perspective has that in it, but it's not like from an automation side point of view, it doesn't actually grant you those permissions.
Right. Okay, makes sense. So for 322, we'll kind of defer that until we talk about some of the other team automation. And why don't we take a look at 327? Again, I keep forgetting to drop these into the chat. Okay, and now that we've got this bot section, Marcela, you're just requesting to add service bots.
That looks
Yes.
good.
Okay. Sounds reasonable to me. I'll go ahead and add my review.
I added my as well.
We have 3 reviews or
Yeah,
3
and
approvals.
Andy can't approve yet, so I'll go ahead and merge this then. Great.
Thanks.
All right. See, I see we've still got Norma on the call. Norma, are there any updates about Stratos discussions on your side?
Yes. Give me a second here. I'm hoping to get somebody on board, hopefully next week after the holidays. And then we'll start doing our review of the code and start doing some updates at that point. So hopefully we'll be taking that over.
Great.
Management
Sounds good.
Management is bought into the overall concept, so we're pretty good on that right now.
Excellent. Well, yeah, please keep us posted. We'll just keep this in a holding pattern until
Great.
you've got more activity on your side.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, why don't we look over the other things in the in progress problem column. I know we've had this Stalebot RFC hanging out for a while. Is this something that we still want to keep moving forward?
It's in a draft state, so I thought we
Oh, that's right.
just add a filter into here so we don't see it.
I
Right.
didn't find an easy way of filtering it out, annoyingly. I was hoping for like a filter on draft, but that doesn't seem to be an option at the moment.
There is. Save changes.
It might be enough to just tweet about it and maybe mention GitHub and get this feature.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like there's a predicate for draft. There we go. Okay, I think there's a few things in here that maybe should be TOC tagged and haven't been. There's this one about the metric store release. When is this? Looks like this had approvals, but it just had some conflicts on it, and it never got resolved. I'm going to add TOC and working group labels to this so that we don't keep missing it. But I think also this just now needs to conform to the new syntax in the working group files. So I bet it has approvals. So one of us could also just go in and change the formatting, since otherwise it's approved elsewhere, if it's not already even represented in the list. Okay, well, why don't we move on then? We can just handle that out of band. This is the spicy PR. Stephan, did you want to discuss this, or was there something else you wanted to refer
Yep,
to?
I mean, first, there are, if you go down to the latest comment, I added 2 more PRs. They don't show up in progress. They are still in, maybe I missed, they're still in the inbox. That's why we haven't seen them. The first one generates the GitHub teams for the TOC and the working group leads. If we merge it, there would be no need to maintain anymore the TOC. It would be just automatically generated, including contributor rights for Andy. So just advertising.
Mhm. Well, great. Actually, I suppose we have a quorum of approvals here. Ruben, now that you're on the RFC or on the TOC, so we'd be good to merge this one.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, now the automation will probably need a week or so until this is through, and that's another problem. It's a technical issue. The 6 hours that a GitHub action job can run at max is not sufficient anymore. It may get resolved once we have merged the spicy PR, because then there are less teams. Another idea I had would be to add 3 Peribolos jobs, one that manages the org configuration, one that manages repositories, and one that manages teams. Then maybe we are below the 6 hours each. I would give that a try in the next week and see if that works, because at the moment everything is failing.
Another
That's the
way
one-
is to add the proxy.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other thing is cheaper and easier to split it out.
That sounds
I would try
reasonable.
that first, and once we have removed the other teams, then I would hope that a big amount of load is already removed, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second PR is now actually to enable the team management, the generation of teams for all working groups. So far, we had only up runtime deployments and foundational infrastructure. There was, let's say, no negative feedback. The teams seem to be correct, and we could now enable
I
it.
saw that the
for-
automation fields for the deployments working group, it didn't go through.
Yeah, but it went far enough to at least set up the teams. So I double checked.
But it did assign the repositories.
Okay. Yep, that's true. So then I will take that with a split, and we will see if that works out. And maybe we wait with the other teams a little bit longer. From the other working groups, all but service management should have no problems, because I'm just adding teams and the old ones are existing. The bots working group for the service management, I think, has a naming, well, not a naming conflict actually. Marcela used the correct names, and that's why the automation would replace the team, and that's why I asked to add the bots so that nothing gets lost.
Okay.
Should be fine now as
That's
well.
done now.
So yeah, that's done now.
nice.
Okay, then let's do it like this. I will split the jobs and see if it runs through. Then we will see whether the TOC gets properly generated. And the next time, I hope that we get also the feedback from the other working group leads, and then we can merge the working groups, and then we have everything set up if it runs through, and talk about the right process to get rid of the non-standard teams and clean up the mess, which will not be easy, I would say. And yeah, I don't know what you have for opinions. I mean, one way would be we announce it and we simply delete everything, and then every working group lead can, of course, create PRs to add some specially needed teams again. That would be the painful, short, but effective cleanup. The other way would be a call out that every working group lead removes teams that are not needed anymore. But yeah, in my experience, that doesn't work out. It just takes longer, and then you have to anyway to do the hard cut.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of inclined at this point. This has been on people's radar for long enough. Maybe we just reduce everything to the auto-generated teams and see what breaks, and then fix it.
Yeah,
especially if we have an easy way to patch in a team or two as needed if something is more complicated and people just need to get unblocked.
I mean, it takes 6 hours to run, right? So you can just add it manually for 6 hours, and then so
Mhm.
that's doable.
Yeah. I mean, we could still have like a little escape valve section or something for teams if we need to
Yeah, sure.
inject one or two that just needs to get restored. And then it'd be easy to find them and make sure that they're getting reduced to 0.
Yes.
Quick question, as we are with user management and authentication and authorization management, should we wait for the TOC job to run, or would you prefer to remove my permissions? I've got the settings page open of the community repo as one example. I actually should not have access to it for already a couple of days, I guess. But I'm fine with waiting to validate that the job successfully removes me.
I think that's maybe an interesting test to make sure that it synchronizes everything. We're not too worried about you coming in and trashing the place yet.
Yeah.
I was
That's
throwing dice. If it's going to be change visibility, transfer ownership, archive or delete, right? I couldn't find my 4-sided dice though, so
that's good. Those aren't good dice anyway. So all right. Well, this sounds like a plan in terms of making progress on the auto generation from the working group structure and TOC structure. So that's great.
I had a more general question about the process for like, how do we deal with inbox things ending up in the inbox and labeling? Who's taking care of that? Like deciding if something is TOC or working group and putting it in the appropriate label or in column.
Lee, I had the impression you were doing a bunch of that in the background before before meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, generally I took a pass at that being on European time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be certainly a collective async effort. If we have time during these meetings, we could do some of that as well. Maybe we want to do that for the latest batch of things that have come in.
There is something actually in inbox if you just scroll up a little bit, Eric. Oh, sorry, down actually. You were further up. There is, it's not a PR actually, it's an issue. So the filter has taken it out. Because that's a note. The draft filter does take it out. Someone had put something in about there we are, 315, add CF build packs team as an access on CF Linux 4 repositories. They've created it as an issue. So
yeah, I mean, this is the PR that Greg sent yesterday that fixes it up. I think they just didn't understand the system. They're like, help fix this for me. And I think we didn't understand the PR system well enough. We created a PR that created repos and we didn't give anybody access to those repos. And then we're like, whoops. So I think we're okay once that new PR gets merged in, which I've asked Greg to make the change to go from admin to right.
Oh, right. Okay. That was the new one that we sent in that we already talked about. Okay. Got it.
Right. And that kind of stuff doesn't need to go up to the TOC. I just put it in the TOC inbox to review to make sure it was an example of a change that made sense in the team's world, not because it needed a ton of review.
Okay, I'll put the draft filter back on. So we're just looking at PRs that are ready to go. Let's see. In terms of some of these other untriaged ones, this is adding Carson as an approver in one of the working group. So I think this is mostly a working group internal discussion, although we might check the precise criteria in the latest RFCs that address role transitions. In the meantime, I will at least add a working group label to this.
So do we now need to validate those contributions as a working group, or is that like, or as a TOC, or is that a working group thing? Because we have a few of these things coming in for the foundational infrastructure working group as well.
Right. I think we
It's a
need
working group
to.
thing.
Yeah, I think it's primarily a working group thing. We might check and see if there's any TOC check for any of these rule changes. But I think for going to approver, there isn't. There can be a TOC override potentially.
Yeah, because
that should be in the new rules document.
I expect a few of these in the coming weeks, because of like, if we're gonna enable or enforce these new team structures, right? People want to get their more team members an approver status when possible.
Yeah. Yeah, so these I believe are all promotion to approver ones that are coming in. And so generally this is all inside of the working group. But if we need to apply some override as the TOC, then we can. Okay, so I believe that is going to apply to this one as well. I'll just add a working group label.
Yeah, and with Beyhan being on parental leave, it would maybe be nice to have a TOC override there. Well, it could be open for, I don't know, a month or something.
I'll just add that to remind us to take a look. Okay, this is a request to move an addict repo back into the org. Would we want to move the repo back and then merge this so it doesn't get recreated accidentally?
I think the idea was to first merge it, have it created by the automation so that you know the automation, and then it's safe to delete it and actually move it. So you delete the automatically generated empty thing. Because alternatively, will it delete a repo that's not in this list? I don't think so.
I don't know.
That was the concern, right? Like, you don't want the automation to delete a repo that's missing from the list.
Right.
So yeah, merge this first, have the automation created so you know that the automation has picked it up, then you can delete the repo and move it into the org.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Would this be a working group thing or a TOC thing?
I think we always need some TOC review because we're changing the set of repos that's in the Cloud Foundry GitHub org. Sounds fine to me.
Yeah,
I'll just tag the remainder of us.
Yeah, so I approved as well.
Okay, great.
I mean,
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and merge this then. Keep looking for the green button and get distracted by the comment. Okay, and then the rest of these look like they are staffing changes, although Ruben, is this the one that you wanted to discuss having a separate reviewer role for, so that we can actually make assignments? Okay, yeah.
Yes, this is something that came up in the foundational infrastructure working group call. Matthias would like to become an approver. He already is an org member, so he's a contributor. But to be able to have sufficient demonstrable contributions, he would like to be able to review PRs and I can currently not assign those to him. So yeah, I think that it would be a good solution to have a reviewers group. So that's like people that are aspiring to be approvers. So then I can also have some automations, maybe automatically assign people from that group, and then they will not be able to merge the PR, but they can submit approvals or reviews.
Would that be one global reviewers group or per working group?
Per working group area.
Per working group area. Per working group area. Okay.
Yeah, because they are aspiring
sense.
to be an approver in a certain area, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at the changes, I've just added them or him here as a review in a reviewer section in the
the
area
context in here, right?
Yeah. So you have approvers and then you have reviewers.
Okay.
And so this would we think this would end up translating into read permissions on the repos, and that would grant them sufficient privileges to actually get assigned to review.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Quick question from my side. Like I get you want to have some automation for assigning them things. Other than that, we could also not have that group, but instead just give contributors enough permissions to be assignable.
Yeah, that would be
instead
the
of having.
So that would be like at the org level, right? So at the org level, there's a setting. I think you can have like global read, but I don't know why that was not set up. Where was it? Moderation? No. I don't know. There was a setting somewhere. Members and privileges, I think. Yeah, there's a base permission, and the base permission currently is set to no permission. And you have read and write and admin. But read members will be able to clone and pull all repositories. So I think maybe the concern is that would give them access to private repositories in the org.
Oh yeah, probably.
Right. And that's probably a concern because there's some working groups that use that for CI automation, and there's like secrets in there. Yeah, because of that, we probably need this to have like specific read to a specific area.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm not sure whether this can be merged because I added a validation for this YAML file.
It might break.
It might break. But of course, it can be adapted. And if you know exactly how the teams should look like, then we could either amend this existing RFC 005 or create a new one to have these additional teams with read access. And the implementation is then, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours. That's fast.
I think having a new RFC sounds like a good idea.
This was more discuss what would the next steps would be around this. But yeah, I'm happy to make an RFC for this.
Yeah, sounds good. I think my only concern is if we can keep the barrier to entry to this like next phase of privilege in the organization as low as possible. Since we think that we can't just grant it to everyone, then I guess we do need something explicit, but we want to make this like a fairly easy role to get into.
Yeah, but I don't think people will like automatically like it doesn't happen naturally, right? So it feels more like something you have to actively work for. So actually having documented the people that have volunteered to get into that role is maybe not a bad thing because it makes it more explicit, and you will keep track of the people that you're trying to get into that role. So
yeah, I think we maybe need only a cursory check on someone if someone wants to make them a reviewer, if they want to be a reviewer, then we allow people into that role very widely.
Yes. yeah, it's not like a hard thing to get into that role. It's more of like, if you have that role, we will actively help you with assigning things so that you can have demonstrable.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the idea as well, because we have the same situation. We have in the team 1 or 2 more colleagues that might get into the approver role for the cloud controller, and that would be a pretty nice intermediate step.
Yes. And if we have the PR only workflow soon, like we start enforcing that, right, then it also is nice to have a bigger pool of people to get reviews from.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's it in terms of the inbox. The other ones looked like they were similar approver discussions. And we've got a few minutes left. I see so anything else on the PRs that we need to cover before we close that out for this session? If not, why don't we go into any other business? Ram, I saw you had a couple of documents that you wanted some feedback on.
I did. So the first one is about collecting some comments from the TOC folks that are sadly leaving us and we'll be replacing. I see that there's some activity on the doc already. So thank you folks for that. And then the second document is more of a formal announcement about what our election process was and who ended up winning the elections and just introducing the new TOC members very briefly. So any kind of reviews and comments on both docs are much appreciated, and I have assigned specific parts of the doc to specific folks. So thanks in advance to all the people filling that out. Just wanted to throw a shout out to the docs on the call, and if we can get that published later this week or early next week, I think that would be ideal. So if you have some time before that, a review would be much appreciated. So these are again intended to be published on the cf.org blog. That's it from me.
Great, thanks, Ram. Looks like I only have viewer access. Would you want to grant at least the TOC members comment level access?
Absolutely. Just give me a minute. I'll fix that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're not going to do it right now, I don't think. So as long as we have that level of access, then it should be good for review.
Sure. Yep, done.
Great. All right. Sounds good. Any other topics before we close today? All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for today. Thanks everyone for attending. Welcome, Andy. Welcome, Ruben, to the TOC. Great to have you both here, and we look forward to Beyhan showing up at some point.
And goodbye.
Right, have a good week, everyone.
Jan and Lee.
Goodbye.
Yeah, bye, Jan.